every strength has got a counterpart.
Compulsion and passion, the dark side.
Yeah.
How did that manifest in your life?
So everything in nature is all about energy from one way to the other. If you notice, it's all about energy one way or the other. Then you know. I hire people every month, a couple, and then I had to fire people. And that was the first time in my life I thought, it's all about cycles. Don't be scared. Live it full. Go for your passion. Don't go for money. The money is just an instrument. When you're facing death as close. I knew a couple of weeks after that one, carpe diem.
Your most mind-altering hour of the week. Hi, you're listening to Shift Happens, and I'm your host, Ina.
In my studio is Bas Kodden, and he is a speaker, a researcher, an author, and the professor and director of the MBA program at the Nyenrode University. And he wrote several books, many titles. I'll just name a couple. The Art of Sustainable Performance, The Devil Inside, No More Control or Out of Control.
Yeah, out of control.
And Rebels Must Be Facilitated.
Yeah.
Bas, welcome.
Thank you.
If I'm reading your titles, I'm thinking you're a mythbuster in the space of leadership. What title would you give yourself?
Oh, what title would I give myself? I think the one you gave me before this introduction, The Learner, would be the perfect one, yeah. Stay curious, always. We need
like
just
that.
learners and travelers.
I like that. And what I like about the story that you shared with me is that it's the reverse of the typical doorsetters narrative that we love so much in our society, right? And this is what we're selling the youth and the new generation. And doorsetters in Dutch means go, in English means go-getter.
Yeah.
And it's the story of someone who escapes from the matrix, break out from the normal, which is the job and the evil workplace. And then they are now free and they have the autonomy and they become an entrepreneur. So it's about how many millions they've been able to raise, how much they've been able to scale, who has been their investor. That's the story that is really inspiring to us. And if you look at on YouTube, this is the most watched type of videos and podcasts that right now are being published. And your story is the reverse of that, right? You start like that. You start as a doorsetter and then you say, no, I'm actually going for something that's a lot less shiny, maybe, but I sense a deep passion in it. And you went for writing, researching, coaching. What made that shift happen for you?
Yeah, it's in the area of resilience. So there are perfect storms. You wrote a book yourself about a perfect storm, burnout, how that can be a breakthrough in their lives. So I had my moments of resilience as well. Especially as an entrepreneur, you have to be resilient times. But there are times that you have to think over and over again, is this the way I'm going to make my life happen? Or do I have to choose different paths? So I call it the false T split. So your mind is going sometimes from ego. I want to be a big entrepreneur. I want to be a big successful, etc. And then your ego is already turning left. And then your mind can tell you, no, don't turn left, turn right. Because there are so many obstacles that you don't want to have in life. That's only about money, only about more money. It takes time. It takes your friendships. It takes your well-being. So no, you've got three decision instruments in you. You've got your stomach, your intuition. You've got your heart, your feelings. You also got your brain, your ratio. So you have to use them all to be in some way successful. But we are only travelers. Yeah. So at the end of your life, then you can tell, oh, I had some beautiful moments. You don't count your money facing death. You count your blessings. What did I do? What special place did I visit? how did I motivate myself? Not other people, but how did I motivate myself?
Let's count your blessings.
Yeah.
What are yours?
Oh, those are especially my two sons. I've got. I wanted to be a father at the age of 12. So
Wow.
I knew already at 12. The only thing I
You
really
must have been born in somewhere either end of June or beginning of July.
July. Yeah.
Okay, so you're Cancerian.
Yeah, I am.
Sorry to bring astrology
Yeah.
into the conversation.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
as a scientist, I don't have so much with astrology.
I can imagine.
But
Okay.
when I faced my perfect storm some 40 years ago, I studied the Chinese astrology, and that was amazing, really amazing.
What have you learned about your sign? What's your sign?
I'm a dog.
So loyal. Well, that fits with the desire to be a father, to
Yeah.
serve, to be of service.
Exactly. And I'm a metal dog, so it's a black and white with me.
I'm a metal monkey.
Monkey. And that makes year
1980.
1980. Yeah, it's perfect.
But I love the father that you knew at 12 years old, that the archetype of a father is speaking or calling to you, because that's exactly the progression of your career, right? In a sense, right now you are a father, not just in terms of theories and ideas and visions that you are creating for the world, but also in the way you're trying to nurture.
Yeah, I never thought about it this way, but indeed, so every book, the second page is, this book is written for my two sons.
Beautiful.
All of the topics I address, all from the perspective, if I would be dead tomorrow, what would I leave from stories, instruments, etc.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, that speaks to me.
Yeah, and why? There's some story behind it. I lost a couple of friends, more than a couple, when I was 29, and I had to bury in a couple of months 3 of my friends.
Wow.
And then when you're facing death as close, I knew a couple of weeks after that one, carpe diem. So now it's going to be a life lived for, because it can be over in a second. Yeah.
And what decision have you made after that moment? What change?
Don't be scared. Live it full. Go for your passion, and don't go for money. Money is just an instrument to get your higher goals. So I wanted to be a dad, and that's a gift. And not everybody can be a dad. So I didn't know if I would be a dad, but that would be something. I became a dad 70 years ago almost, and then I know my life is complete. All the extra things are just the extra things.
Complete doesn't mean
That
finished.
means, not finished, but complete. I'm whole. So I felt lonely in a way, not being a dad. I had a fantastic life. So a lot of friends, a lot of parties, etc. But my
Children gave you
father,
meaning.
that gave me meaning and made me complete. Yeah.
I understand that. As a Russian mother myself.
Yeah, I saw some pictures. I like to observe. So the first thing I do is I observe energy. I observe the things I can observe in a quick wise. I already saw.
Tell me about the energy.
child.
Thank you. She's gorgeous. Not just because of her external
Yeah,
features.
jeans. Huh? I take some jeans.
Hey, I get a compliment.
Yeah.
And a fantastic humor. That's what she has. And you know how I know she's 1.5 years old. And nobody understands my jokes better than she does.
Okay.
She's laughing without me having even finished the joke.
Because she observes you.
It's
She
very.
can already tell there's a joke coming.
This is gonna be funny.
Yeah.
I better laugh.
Yeah. She looks at your eyes and she knows there is something coming.
Yeah, beautiful. So I love that.
So one of the most important skills, I think the most important skill of a leader is to observe. And children do that. You can speak whatever you want, but they observe you.
So you started your career in your living room.
Yeah.
And how old are you in 1998 when this begins, the story?
Yeah, in 1997 I was 27.
97,
Yeah,
okay, 27.
I'm up to the 1970s.
And then it takes you 12.5 years approximately to run this whole conundrum of a company, setting things up, hiring lots of people, doing actually really, really well financially in a sense. So succeeding.
I did both. So there were good moments, very good moments, and there were very bad moments. So it's all about cycling. And when you learn, when you observe the economy of especially the Western world in the Netherlands, and then you see that every 15 years, 14 years, there is an economic cyclus. So the spring, summer, and winter is coming as well after a fall.
Yeah.
And a lot of young people don't know this, but they're already living 14 years in prosperity.
So you're feeling that this is the moment of the dark coming in.
I think so, yeah. And I met this period of economic crisis twice, 2002, 2003, and then the bank crisis, 2008, 2009. And it takes some years to really get it fallen down. So it's only 10 years ago we had an unemployment rate of 10.6%, 2014. And these youngsters were into the labor market after the last couple of years. They expect it to be like this always. Yeah. So this is one thing I hope to address, not to warn them. Learn to observe and learn to study.
So a sense of trend watching.
Yeah, exactly. Learn to. So I use the lemniscatic thinking. I don't know if you heard about it. Yeah, the paradoxes. So everything in nature is all about energy from one way to the other. If you notice it's all about energy one way or the other, then you know, okay, where am I on a core competence, or where am I as an entrepreneur, and what is the next phase? And can I prepare myself for the next phase? I didn't prepare myself for the first negative cycle in my entrepreneurship. So it was a complete, dark period. What happens here? Yeah.
I'm very curious how you climbed out.
Yeah, I needed faith, beliefs. I had my responsibilities. So as an entrepreneur, as a parent, you take responsibilities, and you cannot tell, not today. No, you have to deliver. How hard it can be, you have to deliver. So it's all about responsibility. So like a bird in a cage, you've got a lot of moments that you can fly if the cage is big enough. But when the cage is closing in, it's going to be a deep and difficult moment.
So I like how you look at responsibilities as lifelines.
Yeah.
In a sense, responsibilities can be seen as burdens.
Yeah.
And it's things that we usually try to avoid or get rid of and cover as quickly as possible so that we can look forward or focus on what's important, what's more important. And that's passion and drive. And you say, no, responsibilities are your lifeline.
Exactly. When you've got too much passion of you try to get it becomes compulsive. So that's the counterpart of passion. Every strength has got a counterpart. People want to be happy, but you can never be totally happy if you've never been unhappy. If you never felt unhappy, how can you feel totally happy? The same with success. You cannot be successful if you haven't been unsuccessful. You need both. So every big entrepreneur, every big sporter will tell you only learn by your mistakes, by your failures.
You could have chosen another entrepreneurship, another startup.
Yeah, but you've got your responsibilities. I cannot start again with so many families who are depending on me.
So it's been now 14 years back. And you could say, somebody could say, okay, well, you started from your responsibilities and then therefore you gave up a certain passion in exchange for safety.
Yeah.
And somebody could say, well, did you ever regret that move?
No, never.
No.
Because I learned the most from those difficult moments.
But in those 14 years, was there nothing in you that was saying, I want to be free, autonomous and rebellious and entrepreneur?
I cannot tell you how many times and how badly. My deepest desire was to sell the company in a moment and to be free and to explore again and to write books or to do study, etc. But you can start a company very easy. But to get rid of a company, that's something else.
I never thought about this. We talk a lot about how do you scale? How do you get investors? How do you make a startup? Okay, how do you get rid of one?
Yeah. You have to sell it. So there has to be someone say, oh, I would love to. But especially in the moment when there is a dark side in the economy, nobody wants a company that is not doing that great again. You can go bankrupt with all the bad things involved in that one as well. But a closure is very difficult. You've got your contracts. Nobody said, no, you can close your company. And my labor contract, no worries. So it's freedom. So I was 27. I didn't have a boss. I didn't have an office to go to 8:30. I could stop whenever I wanted. But then with this freedom comes responsibilities.
I feel that this is a missed gap in a sense when we're teaching entrepreneurs to become entrepreneurs. Start from the end. Yeah. Start from the point where you failed. When you've tried everything and you have to fire, how many employees did you have?
Yeah, in total over 400 or so.
400 employees. Break so many hearts, break so many contracts, figure out how do you pay, what you don't pay. And that thinking process, I feel, is a missed opportunity for us.
Yeah, and so you're right yourself. And one of the first books I bought and read was from Stephen Covey. I'm not a big Covey fan. I'm not a list kind of person. But one of his rules is begin from the end.
Okay, and when it comes to starting up a business.
Yeah. One of the studies that has been mentioned often is from Australian nurses who asked people in the last days of their lives, what do you regret most? And other people say,
the 5 regrets of the dying.
I was too scared. I didn't follow my passion. I should have taken that job. I should have seen the world more and more often. All those kind of things. It's mostly about fears to change paths.
Bas, I have an idea. Yeah? I've been going through your publications and I've been highlighting thoughts or expressions that I thought, wow, this is nice. So how about I go through them and then you give me a 2-minute or less elevator pitch for each one of them. How does that sound?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. So leadership is parenting in reverse.
Yeah. Yeah. There are so many instruments, theories, etc. Sometimes you have to make difficult things easy. And situational leadership, that is, I think you have to address, but it's more difficult than that one. That situation change, and you have to step in when you should, and you have to step out when you can, and that's the most difficult thing for a lot of. That's about psychology, facing your fears, your empathy, and your too much of ego. So let me pitch this one. You're a mom yourself now. So the first phase in parenting your kids when they're young is directive. So eat your plate, brush your teeth, and go to school. If they can choose themselves, they won't. So you have to direct them. Then it becomes pubers, and at the age of 15, 16, you can coach them. Look at this thing, look at this place, and maybe this university to go to. Then they are 27, 28, they are finished their schools and finished the university, etc. Then you can facilitate them with a second mortgage, and you make something happen, or maybe an extra education at Nyenrode possible. You can facilitate. And at the end, when you're an elder and your kids are 50 plus, they come and visit you for some tea and some cake. And they tell you, Mom, I made another promotion. I've got another prize that I won, and you don't have any idea how. The only thing you can do, and the style of leadership you can address, is to applaud them, to appreciate him. How did you do that one? Incredible! What a nice success! And you don't have those genes from me, so my applause, my appreciation, and next time even better. When you're a leader and you've got employees in your company or in your team, do the opposite. Give them all the autonomy they want, and let them make their own successes, their own prize, etc. How you do that, it's up to you, but results have to be there. If they make their results, just applaud them. Lead as a wolf. Lead from behind. How you create your own results, your own successes, I don't care, but the results have to be there. A lot of autonomy. Mm-hmm. If they don't have optimal results, then you have to step in. But most leaders then cross the road and start to direct, do this, do that. No, first facilitate them. Hey, me as a leader, I observed the last 3 months your results were not optimal. We need your results. They have to be optimal. What do you need from me? I can never help you. You have to do it yourselves. It's your job. It's your task. It's your function. But I can facilitate you. First, facilitating. If that doesn't work, then start coaching. Look at this, look at that. Me as an expert, I see those choices possible. It's your decision. I won't take your decision. It's your job, your role. I see those opportunities. If that doesn't help, then you start directing. Results have to be there. Otherwise, the continuity of the organization comes in danger. So, leadership
do that.
Is the opposite. First, you start, if they are elder, all the autonomy you get from me, I will stay behind. I will applaud you, appreciate you. Good luck.
So start from the assumption that these people are not imbecile, immature children, but that they're creative adults that already know what
and
to
that
do.
Doesn't have to do anything with age. So if you're if you've got a team member of the age of 18, or one is facing pension the next day, just give them all the autonomy. But if they don't use that autonomy in the right way, making results, then you start stepping in.
I like that because it's the only way to understand the phase of the evolution. It's in a sense a level setting. That's the only way to know where is this person on their evolution.
People say that looks like a situational leadership. No, it isn't. It is more complex than this, because you've got all these competencies in you, and on one competency I can applaud you. On the other, I have to facilitate you, and maybe another competence I can tell, okay, the results are not coming. I have to direct you. So I'm just continuously busy observing you and switching a leadership style also at one person.
So it's also, in a sense, a systemic thinking, because you're not seeing a person as an individual in and of itself. You see it as a sum of more parts, and each of those parts has their own level of maturity, which you then support with your level of parenting.
Exactly. And then I face and I observe one of the most important energy sources of for passion, work engagement, and that's self-efficacy. So in the same function, the same role, I look at people, how can they be self-efficient? So how can I create results in the same function in a different way with different people? So maybe you are a very good account manager. Maybe you are a hunter. I let you hunt. Some are more the peacekeepers, so they sell in loyalty. So okay, then I will skill your loyalty competencies. But results have to be there. So a hedgehog has got their pins, a leopard, their 4 legs. They're different animals. And you have to understand, we are like animals as well. So we've got all this programming in us, horoscopy and etc. You use it all, philosophy, to get the best results with your genes, with your levels of energy as a team member.
Thank you for this explanation. Actually, I was thinking when I was reading this title, because I haven't read the book, I was thinking that you're referring to parenting in reverse, as in self-parenting. So as in leadership, the only way to become a great leader is through raising yourself into being that by doing personal development.
And a nice way to look at that, and one of the great philosophers, Aristotle, in some way, and Socrates, I know thyself. For me, it's more important to control thyself.
Emotional regulation.
And that's so incredibly important, especially for leaders, because
absolutely, because of the responsibility that they have.
And also they've got so much power. They've got their hierarchy. They've got their examples in some ways. What we see nowadays is we call it the dark triangle, the dark triad: narcissist, ego, controlling. So it's a very important. So introspection. I call it introspection, not emotional regulation, but introspection. Know thyself, control thyself, feel thyself, and know where to step in and know where to step out.
Most leaders take the lead when they shouldn't, and don't take the lead when they should. That's my next statement.
Yeah. So we've got 3 triggers: fear, ego, and empathy. One of the most important things for me was space. Autonomy is created by its borders. To put it differently, the worst style of leadership, most people think that's the autocratic style of leadership, so dominant, aggressive, red pencils, etc. But the worst style of leadership for passion, work engagement is laissez-faire, to ignore safety, to ignore bad employees, to ignore snakes in a snake pit. So you have to confront, but this confronting, keeping space between its borders, is very difficult. Most leaders step out. They don't dare to confront. They don't dare to speak up. They don't dare to confront our group. When you've got fears, step in. When you're facing your ego, step out. And also on empathy, step out. I can never help employees because their problem-solving skills will decrease. Their curiosity will decrease. Their celebrating their own successes, their own victories will decrease. So the only thing I have to do is raise their self-efficacy, raise their curiosity levels, to have their problem-solving skills to the highest levels, and they will make their own results. I will applaud for them. So I can never give answers. If I would give answers, that would be good for my ego, but not for their education, not for their development, not for their personal growth. They have to learn by themselves, like parenting your children. They have to face their own obstacles in life. If they're not ready for it because you were too good of a mother, too good as a mother, you were too soft for your kid, too long.
And I'm looking now for one of the quotes that I saw somewhere, but I can't find it, unfortunately, anymore on my paper. But it was related, it was something, a session you conducted with Guus Hiddink, and he's one of the most famous football coaches in the Netherlands. And you and him were offering some kind of a seminar somewhere for hundreds of leaders. And there was something you spoke about, and it was about onrustige veiligheid, which in English would mean restless safety.
So it's linked to the story a couple of minutes ago. A lot of companies are satisfied. A lot of leaders are satisfied. Just good enough. A lot of people are satisfied.
Not only that, we are promoting psychological safety. We're saying that's very important right now.
But to be engaged, to be op zijn Nederlands bevlogen en op Duits begeisterd, that means something else. You go to the next level. So I'm not satisfied. I want to go for tomorrow and to the next phase. Everything I've got, I want to put in to give my best. So a lot of companies nowadays are unsafe. Imagine at this moment in the Netherlands, 2 million employees are perceiving a toxic environment. 2 million. So 1 in 5, 1 in 6. And that's a terrible thing. Why? Because there is no leadership. There is absence of leadership. Laissez-faire. We don't see our leaders anymore. And when they are at the company, they are in meetings, they are in bylaws, one-on-one conversations. They don't see how they created a snake pit out of the organization where the most dominating snakes are eating and biting the tails of the weakest. The absence of leadership is everywhere. So as a leader, you have to keep it safe. You have to observe, where are the dominant snakes? Where are, I call them beavers, that they eat your chair. Step out of ego. So we all got an ego, and that's good. Our self-esteem is very important. So an ego of 1 is important, but don't get your ego in your way because it will diminish your results. People want to flourish. You don't want to flourish. Your people have to flourish. How do you do that? Lead as a wolf. So leadership is a very lonely function, full of dilemmas and confrontations. And my task is, like you as a mom, and like me as a dad, is to develop my followers, my team members. I have to give them space so they can grow and they can be ready for the next phase in life, and etc. So I'm constantly busy to improve others, and mostly I won't get any applause for it. But it's a great function.
Meanwhile, the current style of leadership is you're doing the work for me behind the scenes, and I'm going to run with the credits while I'm promoting what you wrote from your
Most
diploma.
leaders step in where they shouldn't and step out.
But I would like to understand what is restless about this type of safety.
Yeah, it's not especially restless, but it's satisfied. We're just satisfied. When you read the reports of, let's say, Gallup, the US agency, at this moment, 50% of all employees are in the group of quiet quitting. They are there, but not
already one step outside. They're testing the water somewhere else.
So you can pay my money. You can face my labor contract, but I'm already out. I don't do my best anymore. I'm not engaged, especially not actively.
The way you write it, I loved it. They already broke the psychological contract that they had with you. So you have a physical contract, but you define also, wait a second, don't only look at the physical contract. That's not your safety net. There's also such a thing as a psychological contract.
You did your homework perfect.
I read the book.
But that's perfect. So if the entrepreneurs are listening or leaders, be aware. Often your best employees, when they face a breach in the psychological contract, will be your worst employees. They got all the skills, all the competencies to do good things, but also to create a snake pit. And why is that? Because there are 4 dimensions on a psychological contract breach. The first one is, I love my job, I hate it these days. Why? I don't get any space anymore, I don't get any applause, I hate my job. So I hate my job, I will make you hate yours as well. The second one is colleagues. So something happens with one colleague or some, and people tell, consciously or unconsciously, I hate my job, I hate this company.
So it's, in a sense, a bit of a silent revolution. Let me start to acquisition more friends online.
And I call them beavers. So these are the actively disengaged. So they're actively busy, disengaging others and diminishing results. So work, colleagues, organization. I love my organization, but nowadays not anymore. And I love my leader, the 4th dimension. But nowadays, I hate him or her.
So it can be personal, it can be organizational.
Yeah, and for me, sometimes people say, you've got a dark side on how to look at people. No, just the facts. So me as an entrepreneur, but also as a scientist, I want to know numbers. If you know, nowadays in the Netherlands, 1 in 9 employees is actively disengaged. 1 in 9 numbers in the Netherlands. The last report of Gallup, 16%. And then when you are a team member or a leader of, let's say, a group of 25, there are 3 beavers in your team who try, consciously or unconsciously, to get a hold on results, to get a hold on our well-being.
And if we're looking at the science of the tipping point, it only takes one person to create a 25% ripple effect. And
exactly.
So 3 can become really quickly a lot more.
Exactly. So these, we call them the informal leaders. They don't have a position as a leader, but they've got followers. So one beaver can have a lot of followers.
Influencers, different kind of influencers.
Different kind of influences. So for me, let's go back to the triggers: fear, ego, and empathy. As a leader, you took a contract, and that contract mentioned you have to keep it safe for others, and you have to create results. And for me, as a professor nowadays, I tell leaders, take your responsibility. Learn to confront. Learn to address a snake pit. Because I see everywhere the results are there. We see an absence of leadership, especially here in the Netherlands. And then you see those numbers, 1 in 9 actively disengaged. 1 in 6 Gallup, and that's terrible. 2 million people. That's why I wrote a book about the rebellions. Are facing a toxic environment.
Yeah.
They don't want to go to work tomorrow.
And it's all noble, and I see a lot of leadership advice everywhere on the internet and on LinkedIn. As soon as I open the LinkedIn, it's like, leaders should do this and leaders should... And I'm thinking, the leaders who you're writing this for are not even here. I've worked in communications many times. That implies that I'm writing things and I'm appearing as if I'm the leader on LinkedIn and so forth. The leader won't even read what you wrote there. So, and most of the time, the message simply doesn't come across. And especially we have this self-confirmation bias, that we're not able to see our own flaws. We're usually projecting them onto others. So typically I would think that it's your fault if something is going wrong. As a leader, I would not consider myself in the flawed space. I'm not saying that all leaders are like that. Most of the leaders I've worked with are emotionally mature and very intelligent human beings who are self-aware and self-reflective, but they still don't go on LinkedIn to read all these quotes or go to Google or to Amazon and say, let me buy a new book on leadership, because they believe they're really good at what they're doing. And they rarely attribute toxicity or what's happening in the organization to their own leadership style. So how do you address them? How do you speak with them? Where you say, when I speak to leaders, where do you find them? How do they find you?
Yeah, so I've got a position at the university. So I see 10,000 leaders a year. And I'm mostly not, I understand. And I often create a vicious cycle. So I ask the leaders in the room, so are you perceiving a turbulent phase nowadays? And it's turbulent. Okay. When you perceive turbulence, do your fears and uncertainty grow or diminish? Oh, no, they grow. Okay, perfect. So when you've got growing fears and uncertainties, do your need for control grow or diminish? Oh, no, need for controls grow. If you're controlling your employees more and more, do their levels of passion grow or diminish? Oh, now that will diminish. Especially the Y and Z generation don't like to be controlled. Me neither, but especially that generation.
Control is a killer of passion.
Yeah. So, and I asked the leader, so the levels of passion, work engagement diminish in your team fastly. Do your results and performances grow or diminish? Oh, that will diminish. Yeah, I often use the Pareto rule. So when you've got 20% more work motivation out of your employees, what does it do with your performance? Yeah, it will grow with 80%. Okay, now it will diminish with 20%, and your results will diminish with 80%. Does it get more or less turbulent for you? More turbulent. And then you see a vicious cycle, and everybody understands. And I asked them, how can you overcome this vicious cycle? How can you let it go in the right way? Yeah, I've got only one thing to do. Control my fears. And that's life. So you're more in control by letting go than the opposite. But so that's difficult.
About not external control, but the reversing the cycle of control towards internal control. And that's, well, you can call it control, or you can call it regulation, or you can call it introspection, like you mentioned it before.
And then, kijk, it's so easily said, and it's more difficult in practice. So I always give them theories that I use as an entrepreneur to overcome these psychological phenomena, because it's so difficult. So you've got 4 trump cards in your pocket you can use. And this theory comes from Marshall and Van der Stiede and Professor of Leuven and one of Harvard, I think. You've got personal control. Get the right people in your bus. So don't hire people out of diplomas, of experience. Hire them because of their characters and their curiosity.
This is one of the statements I have, so I want to highlight it. Character is much more important than talent, you say.
Yeah. And also diplomas. So my boss, my rector, those days hated my interviews because always the diplomas don't tell. And I was responsible for the most expensive education program in the Netherlands.
Giving the best diploma, and still it says nothing about you say.
Exactly. So if you are having your title as an Executive MBA student, you will face the kiss of death at that moment.
Why is that?
The thing's done, and your ego will grow. But you will never be promoted because something you did, but because of the expectation that you can deliver what is being expected out of you. So you have to control your ego. And your diploma is something now from the past, a couple of hours ago, but still from the past. Learn again and study again and be curious again, because that says something about your passion, about your character, and creating new results in the future.
And this is the cycles you were referring to in the beginning.
So I've got all these diplomas. Doesn't tell me. My energy here tells you something.
Yeah. I have a box of diplomas.
Yeah, me too. And that's all the past.
Yeah, they're collecting dust and nobody cares about my priest certification at the moment.
So I often ask them, the ladies, yeah, so you've got your vacancy and in the newspapers reports all about diplomas and experience. What does it tell? Yeah, the only thing it tells is your discipline of so many years ago, with the knowledge that was important so many years ago. It says nothing about your character, your motivation, or your level of knowledge these days.
Especially in this day and age, because now we're going to be changing careers, not just jobs, in 6 years or less. And the more technology is improving and growing, the faster that exponentially is growing.
And I like that. And why?
You keep reinventing yourself then.
Yeah, exactly. There are a lot of possibilities. And what is also so nice, we're all putting our kids to high schools and universities. Everybody has to go to the same funnel, and you have to create your. In the future, it won't be about knowledge. Knowledge was an asset. Skills are the future. So if you're going to be a plumber, are you going to be the best plumber? Or if you're going to be a baker, or you're going to be a pilot, if you're going to be etc. And you're going to be the best in that one, you will make a fortune. If you're just a 6 or a C in the US, the UK language, a B in your position as a lawyer or a controller, you're going to face a difficult time, because there are a lot of people with the same degrees, with the same diplomas, and more passionate than you. So it's all about skills in the future, and I love that one.
But what does that mean? Like, until now, we were born into a lifetime where we can almost look at it from Eastern philosophies. We had the karma of the bread maker, for example, and for a whole lifetime, you took all 30 years to perfect that skill of bread making. And right now, we're going to have to undergo a change of archetype, or a change of basically personality, character, in every 2-3 years. What does that say about the depth of skill? Because you say it's a skills first, and yes, that's what we all say. Talent is now about skills first.
And for me, it's so there are a lot of metaphors, and we are facing each other after the Netherlands and England
of the soccer match.
Final. So people don't go to the FC Barcelona for the FC Barcelona. They came for Messi. If you want to have an experience in eating a cookie, and you want to make an experience of it, you go to the best restaurant in the world, taking the plane to have. So we are facing an experience economy. Taylor Swift makes $1 billion as a singer. Everybody wants to be there to see her once in a lifetime. And the same goes for all those positions, in my view. The best beers, the best wines, the best restaurants, the best professor, the best bestseller author, etc. So don't be a B or a C. Follow your passion and try to become the Messi.
Very interesting. I'd like to dig a little bit deeper into that, because I like what you say. We're facing an experience economy.
Yeah, I think we're already in it.
Like before, we used to focus on how much money I have. Now you're going to base my success on how much experience you have. And we're on the threshold.
What you can learn so we've got universities, but a lot of our teaching is done outside of the university, in seminars, at direction meetings, etc. People don't want to have, especially a diploma or a degree or etc. They want to become better, or they want to experience a nice evening, or they want to experience food, or a football game, or to see an artist. So I use often the band U2 as an example. So how can it be that those 4 boys, men, almost elderly men, are so successful nowadays? And the Z generation, as in a couple of years, the Alpha generation, they buy tickets of €200 to see 4 elderly men. and that's
They're not just just the regular elderly men, but
and there are so many cover bands. You can. Tonight we are here in Amsterdam. You can go to the center and you can see a cover band that is almost perfect style, look like U2. It's the same. The only thing you have to pay your beers and your wines.
Yeah.
That's it. And then we fly.
No, they pay the 200 and then go for
and
those.
they fly over to Las Vegas to see them. And the same goes for a lot of, I think, positions in the new world. It's not about so you want to face the best footballer, the best professor, the best restaurant, etc. Just to have an experience and to grow and to enjoy.
Well, this helps me a little bit to find some inner peace with respect to the path and the journey that I have followed in my life. And I had recently a phone call just this week. Somebody, a recruiter, who was calling me for an executive role in an organization. And then he said, I looked at your LinkedIn profile and it's you spread yourself thin over so many various areas. And actually, I had to stop and think, oh my God, that sounds very negative. It sounds like I couldn't focus. It sounds like I couldn't go into the depth. And indeed, I have shifted and changed. Either we're talking about sector, we're talking about the topic of what I was doing every 2 years. And I hang up thinking, I'm not sure if he was recording me or just calling to offend me, because I felt the inner conflict that I had resulting from this conversation.
And it's so strange because we call it VUCA, the uncertain world we are facing. And you are an example of adaptability. And you get a negative association with it.
I have. It's my association. Yeah. Well, he called me from a positive perspective because he saw potential, right? And it's me who thinks, oh my God. Right?
So you made your, that's a core competency. Your agility, your adaptability as a core competence by looking from so many perspectives to companies, to leadership, etc.
I love it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Rebels must be enabled. But before we get to that one, I have one that is going to take a little bit of time, but I love it. True leaders are masters of lemniscatic thinking. I'm going to pronounce that again. Is that correct?
It is correct. Yeah.
True leaders are masters of lemniscatic thinking. And for the people who are watching this and are wondering what is lemniscatic.
Yeah, we already addressed it a little. So everything in nature, everything in companies, everything inside ourselves, it's all about cycling. So lemniscatic thinking is all about using poles instead of constraints. So it's all about energy going from new. So ego is good. You need an ego, otherwise you wouldn't write a book. You wouldn't be there. You wouldn't have invited me. So an ego is good. But if you see that your ego is going to you go back to the pole of ego, and that is humility. Just be.
So the term lemniscatic comes from the infinity sign as the 8 in reverse, right? Exactly. And here we're talking about the ability. So I'm translating it into my own words to see that it also reflects for the viewers who are watching this. It's about finding unity in polarity. It's not about whether or this but not that, but it's about yes and yes. Exactly. And how can you look at everything in your environment, your life, or what you're experiencing as a yes experience? Exactly. No such thing as bad or good, right?
Exactly. So when you are facing fear, then you know I have to use the pole. I have to go into my fears. Yeah. When you're facing your ego, go back and use the pole. The same. So I often use stories to underline this. It looks complex, but it isn't. I sometimes ask the audience, especially at the Executive MBA, so the potential candidates who want to come into the program. So who's your most inspirational, the most authentic leader you can think of? And mostly they come back with two answers. Mahatma Gandhi and Nelson Mandela. Okay, perfect answers. But did you know Mandela was a murderer? He murdered consciously several people, bombing buildings, etc. He knew people lived there, sleep there, worked there, and still he did it. Mahatma Gandhi, he beat his wife at least 3 times to the level that he had to face the hospital with bone fractures in her face.
That's something I didn't know.
Did you know that? No. So The most authentic leaders, the most inspirational leaders, one is a murderer, the second one is a woman beater. And I have to ask them, the others, and what does it tell? So there are 4 levels of competency. So 95% of all our behavior is unconscious. So our triggers, we face fear, we step out. I'm too scared. When we face ego, we step in. That's nice. When people ask about or empathy, we step in. How did Mandela and Gandhi got from the level of being unconscious, incompetent, a murderer, a wife beater, and traveled through the 4 phases of competency: unconsciously incompetent, consciously incompetent, consciously competent, and then the last phase, some people get enlightened. They become unconsciously competent. How did they travel from that phase, the lowest of the lowest, to the highest of the highest? Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, it's all about introspection. So anger, is one of the sins of life, the 7 sins in life. Mandela and Gandhi were very angry in their younger years, but it became seen at the end of their careers as the most forgivenessful persons in life. So they used their poles using introspection. I cannot stay angry. I have to forgive others, myself, to be relevant in life. Again.
Yeah, so I like this because I was going to impress you with being a rebel for the content that you wrote, right? I was going to say, rebellion without shadow work isn't rebellion, it's an act of aggression. And I was going to bring up the fact that 95% of our awareness is unconscious, and therefore most of acts of activism are actually starting with a cause, like you write in your book. And most of us, from our own perspective, will believe it is a good cause. You can debate it. For you, maybe it's not. But for me, I think I have a really good cause. And then if we are not doing the work that you're just mentioning, you call it going for the pole or going for the other pole.
Contradictionary poles. So anger is got an energy source. It brings you energy. But if you know, I'm getting anger, okay, introspection, I control myself, I feel the anger, what do I have to do? I have to use the other pole. When my ego is rising, okay, that's good. I've got an ego. That's good. That's my right moves. I'm here, etc. But I can't use it.
So Jungian psychologists would call this shadow work. As in becoming aware of things that we're not aware of.
Exactly.
Digging stuff up from the 95%, as you mentioned. And without this work, any activism, any rebellion, any act of that you think you're following a good cause may come forth as another act of aggression. So you're fighting war with war, and that's how we create actually more.
Perfect, yeah. So being a rebellion, it's not because of it's not about a goal. Be rebellious is always an instrument. Why are you rebellious? Why am I rebellious? Because I need performances. I like to improve well-being. So when I see the numbers of these days, 2 million employees are facing a toxic environment, and I see 10,000 leaders a year in those seminars, and still it happens. Then I know I have to use the poles. Don't have to use and address the leaders. I have to address the employees. We won't take it any longer. So I created 22 exercises that employees can do with their leaders as a rebellious exercise. Kill your company. How can you kill your company in 12 months?
I don't think this message is going to be very popular with the leadership who is watching this.
One of my colleague professors wrote a review, etc. This is the best book that employees
should not read.
can give their leaders.
Okay.
Yeah. Because if it's not going to be top down, if too many leaders are still there because of the position, we have to create a bottom-up a revolution.
Grassroots.
We don't take it anymore. We are facing systems of control. We are facing systems of hierarchy. We are facing leaders, dominant, manly, autocratic. We don't take it anymore.
This is exactly what I was writing in this book. And if you look at the book that I published, in 2016. I started writing it in 2014. And if you look at the reviews read by leaders who have organizations, they didn't like the messages that I was writing in there. So there's criticism about it.
And the perfect thing is, it's not about leaders. So we are facilitating. We are having our positions to develop others or let them develop themselves. It's not about us. We're just an instrument for companies to create continuity, to create results, to create a happy workplace, etc. It's not about us. We're the least important persons in the company. It's always about the employees and their clients. And if you know that some people have, what do you think about this yearly conversation we have that the leaders have with their employees? And I always tell them, there's only one conversation necessary, one in 6 months. That's about me. Did I let you grow the last 6 months? If not, we go to escalate.
So it's not basically that you're evaluating the performance of the employee.
Exactly the opposite.
The opposite. Like, how can I do better?
And if you're facing that way of yearly or half-yearly conversation, then you know every day is about developing others to create more well-being, and that's that makes you go to your workplace in a completely different way.
Absolutely, and that's the typical parenting archetype that you mentioned earlier, right? I mean, it's a selfless job.
Yeah, it's a selfless job, and it's not completely selfless because at the end, if your team is doing good, you will get the compliments.
But that's not the goal at the end of the day, right?
So at the end of the day is for me, did I make my workplace safe?
Yeah.
And did I create the results? But it's always, the result is always the results of individuals. And if you develop your individuals, your children, they stay longer. They're more happy. They work together. They're more proud and take more pride in their work. And you get, as a result, a team performance. And my boss was, how did you do that? Very simple, to stay behind. I didn't do anything. I applauded. I facilitated. A couple of times I coached. And once in a while I had to direct, but mostly I didn't do anything.
But it has to be authentic. You can't just clap your hands every time somebody...
No, and that makes it very subjective. So I often ask, so we've got a course in Nyenrode. We had it, authentic leadership. And I asked the audience, so who's authentic in this room? all the arms go up. So authentic leadership is also such a trend or a hot topic. Nobody's authentic. So every 7 years, every cell in your body, except your teeth,
it's completely
changed. The environment changed. You as a person physically changed, mentally changed, emotionally changed, etc. You're a completely different person. So we are never authentic. We are travelers. We start to, that's my goal, improving every day a little bit more. And my only benchmark is myself yesterday.
Interesting.
So I don't need the stamp or the mark of being authentic because I'm not. I'm a traveler.
The most authentic thing you can do is accept that you're not.
Yeah.
And it's also a natural thing because, like, if we are looking at the fact that only 95% of our awareness or only 5% of our awareness is conscious, how can you say you're authentic? You don't know what's sitting in your 95.
And that's a perfect statement. I went back to the great philosophers. So we have forgotten philosophy in our educational systems. But the old Greeks, the old Romans, when you went to the primary school, you were in one philosophy or the other. And we created churches or religions to change that one. But philosophy
you didn't follow a curriculum. You fell into a specific philosophy.
Yeah.
School of thought.
A school of thought, exactly. So the great philosophers like Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle, they are all born, some were the teacher of the other, but created different perspectives on life and on the truth and on personal growth. And then you can tell, no, I'm more a fan of Aristotle. The same for psychology. You've got Freud, Jung. For me, Adler is the most important one. And it's constantly asking yourself about his 5%. How can I use philosophy or psychology to not make it 95% of just triggered behavior, but I'm conscious about my competencies, about my flaws, about my etc.
Thinking from the possibility versus problem solving, and that's regenerative thinking, systemic thinking, Socratic school of thought. All of this, they follow this line of vision. And going back to rebellion without introspection being just another act of aggression or fighting war with war, you define 4 different categories in rebella muce faciliteren, and in English that's you have to facilitate rebels. You define 4 categories: good, bad, ugly, and hero, and they follow a specific line of development, and that is constructive, destructive, self-destructive, and the problem solver.
Yeah, but you really did your homework. Perfect. Yeah, so I came aware that I have to change also my way of teaching, just not only the leaders, but also facilitating employees because of those numbers as 1 in 5 burnout, 2 million toxic environment. And there were a lot of books written in America from very best-selling authors, but also professors like Adam Grant, Francisco Gino, Harvard professors. And I read those books, and they were all nice, well written, all with the same line of thinking. You have to be rebellious. But I knew at this moment, 11% of all employees are rebellious, but bad rebels. I employed so many employees. Yeah, sometimes the good, but also sometimes the bad, and sometimes also the ugly. I looked at a different, so in a lot of companies we call them klokkenluiders. As people who ring the bell and say this is not good, and they end up in a caravan, unemployed, sometimes divorced, without a job, without an income, and they were the good rebellious, but at the end,
whistleblowers.
The whistleblowers, exactly. Navalny also one. So he stood up against Putin, very brave, very rebellious, but the man is dead now. 2 kids lost their daddy. 2 parents lost their child. A loving wife lost their loving husband, etc.
So this is a typical self-destructive rebel.
So good rebels, they can go too far and becomes ugly. And for me as a leader, if you're aware that people are rebellious because of a good cause, but you see it's going to be self-destructive, then you have to facilitate them. Go, oh, please, take care of yourself, because this is going to be destructive for yourself. I see your good point. I see what you're doing, but the system doesn't help. And if you're going too far, it will disrupt your life. So the good, the problem-solving employees, you need those. You can only change the existing, the way of handling with non-conformist. You can only change conformism with non-conformism. So you need rebels, but then the good ones. The bad ones, 1 in 9, this destructive behavior, the ugly. And for me, it's all about the hero. So I wrote a book, Be a Hero, highly energetic, responsible operators that don't only address a problem or system failure or etc., but they also solve it. And if you know how to facilitate the good and the best, and how to address the ugly and the bad, then you can change your environment to the way you want to change it.
Now you're speaking from the perspective of a leader.
Yeah.
And what I liked about the various descriptions, the classifications that you gave about the rebels, is that, and depending on how you look at it, right? And that's why I would like to highlight this, that I don't think you're trying to make categories. I don't think you're trying to say these are 4 different people, get rid of those 2, keep only these 2, and make sure that your organization is only filled with the heroes. And no, you're saying, if I read it correctly, that these categories are in a sense a level setting, and it's not actually categories, it's stages of development.
Exactly. So I use 7 dimensions where you can score yourself or the employee on the level of engagement. So the ugly rebel, self-destructive, facing a burnout almost, or sometimes in a burnout. So engagement is now disengagement, but the good and the bad are engaged. The good is actively engaged, and the bad is actively disengaged.
And for the people listening to this, I mean, why is it good to be engaged at work? Obviously, you feel good, you're feeling satisfied, you feel a sense of belonging, you're passionate, you're driven, you wake up in the morning thinking, yes, I'm going to work versus, oh my God, I'm going to kill my boss or my colleagues today.
Yeah, so most people go for 8 hours a day to
Ghost mode.
To work. If you're feeling unhappy or your well-being is going fastly down, or you hate your colleagues or you hate your job, it's going to be 8 long hours. For some people, it's going to be long weeks, long months, long years, and you only live once. So to be passionate, and we use work engagement as the definition of passion. It's all about vitality, to be energetic. So everybody wants to be energetic, but if not possible at that work environment, please know that and leave. It's all about dedication. We want to be dedicated to the things that are most important to us. If that's not a job, please leave. It's all about absorption, curiosity. If you cannot learn anything anymore at a workplace, please, I use the study of Australian nurses. Don't regret your life. Change paths. And you can use theories, models, or tools to just get into introspection. Hey, my vitality, now it's going down. My dedication, now it's going down. My levels of absorption, no, I don't learn anything anymore. Okay, I have to face my fears. I have to change careers. And that's difficult. It's fearful. But it's the only way out.
It doesn't have to be the only way out. Don't you see an intermediary stage where I could, for example, go to you if you're my leader and say, hey, Bas, I've been feeling exactly all those words you just said. I've been feeling this. I'm not sure if it's me, it's the team, if it's help.
I completely agree. And in a way, that's why I wrote the book. So people can use the book to give it to their leaders. I'd like to do exercise 5 with the team.
Yeah, I went through the exercises in your book. Very handy. It's very practical, and it's half of a book only with various different exercises and tests. So I really enjoyed it.
I thought by myself, I can write another book, but it won't change anything. People read it, nice book.
Yeah.
I need exercises to really be able to change it.
Make it practical.
Yeah, and then leaders can tell their employees, I don't like to do those exercises. And then you know it's not about performance in this organization. It's not about my well-being. It's just about you. Yeah. It's just about your position. Yeah. And now I know you.
But step 1 is first share your concerns. Don't leave the organization straight away.
Exactly. So you completely, I completely agree with you. And it's all funny exercises. There's not difficult exercise or it's going to be unpleasant exercise. No, it's just funny.
Rebels or people who are offering this kind of feedback or coming with the book, that's also a sense of rebellion. Like I'm coming and I'm saying, I don't feel that something's going right, so I'm going to share it and I have a cause. I want to make it better. Help me. Let's do this together. It's not always welcomed with wide open arms, like at least in my experience. And honestly, I've always been on the hero side. And I know this sounds like I'm not self-aware, but I have done my work at looking at my own intrinsic motivations and why was I trying to achieve certain changes. I've always looked at the situation. Do I have a solution? I don't come to just complain and nag about the problem. Do I have a solution? And then I come and complain. And then together we can create a change or a transformation. And it's not always embraced, even though you're coming from a positive, constructive hero shoes.
I know.
Okay, what should those people do?
Yeah, don't give a shift. Don't give a shit.
Don't give a shit. Make a shift happen.
Exactly. Yeah. So what people like or dislike is not up to me. The only thing for me is important is safety and well-being and results. And that's why, for example, I give a book or do an exercise. If you like it or dislike, I don't care. It's my well-being that's important. It's the performance.
Beautiful.
That's
So here's where you're touching on a very important aspect that we maybe should have mentioned, but yeah, this is a good time as any. Intrinsic motivation versus extrinsic motivation. I'm not trying to change things because they annoy me or they frustrate me, but because of my inner values. Yeah. And the inner values you're describing, well-being. What are your core inner values? Well-being. What is another one? Parenting.
But not
passion.
Yeah, there's not parenting about parenting. So as a leader, for me, I've got only two themes, and that's safety and results.
Okay.
And those are linked. So if it's unsafe, like in the story of Guus Hiddink, the results will go down fastly. Look at those television series, The Voice, all those companies that broke down in a couple of weeks because of an unsafe environment. It goes fastly down. So that's my first goal, to make it safe or create safety again. And then second one, results. And if the results are not maximum or optimal or etc., then I have to improve. I have to innovate. Not because of innovation is necessary, no, because it's unsafe or the results are not at the highest levels. That's why. The same for parenting. It's not about me parenting. Yeah, so I've got my ego. I like to be around my boys and I like to be there. But that's, you can say in a way, selfish. My job is something else. To create strong men out of those two that are competent enough, if they want to create their own families, to create an income by themselves. I cannot parent them till I'm dead. No, they have to do it themselves after a certain age. That's my job. The same goes as a leader. I have to develop, let them grow and create their own successes. It's not about me.
So I did your hero test. I took it. And I came out as a climber.
Yeah, that's a rebellion test.
Yeah. What does this tell you about me?
You are the climber.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's all about resistance, the internal resistance and the external resistance. And you as a climber, did you read the work of Nietzsche?
No.
So he's into that area. So you question yourself a lot. So you've got your beliefs and you've got your value systems. And as a climber, you find it difficult to change company values or company system, etc. But you dare yourself constantly. You try to improve yourself. You try to, as a climber, step by step, be a better person, be a better professional, etc. That's why you probably wrote all those books and did your homework like you did. You are a climber.
Sounds like me.
And that's the rebellion test. And that is a test that's created by my counterpart at Harvard, Francisca Gino. So I don't take the credits of that test. It's her test.
Okay.
Yep.
And there were 3 other categories.
The pirate is the one that is question everything. So he's a daredevil, you can tell. So he doesn't care about inner values. He dares to question those. He dares to question the company systems, protocols, etc. Real pirate, a daredevil. You get a traveler. I'm a traveler myself. Yeah. And you've got the guard.
How do you describe the traveler?
And maybe you can tell after this conversation, I've got my own belief systems. I've got my own values. I find it difficult. I try to question myself, but I'm more or less the same person with the same value system when I was 12. So I'm grounded, but I'm not a pirate. So I don't question everything. So I've got my value systems. But I dare to question organization. I dare to question leaders. I dare to question. So I'm resistant to external obstacles.
It's not rebels who create trouble. It's the trouble that creates the rebels.
Yeah, it's a perfect one now. Yeah.
From your...
Yeah, I've got those, and maybe she's listening to your podcast as well. Simone van Neerven. She is, also an author about books of rebels, rebels at work. She wrote that quote, and I used it with her mission, and I love that quote. Yeah.
Well, but trouble while for you it may be, you may define trouble as the unethical practices in the tobacco industry. For me, trouble is maybe the long line at Albert Heijn, right?
Yeah.
So it's very subjective.
Yeah, so for me, it's all about my two themes, troubles in safety, troubles in results.
Mm-hmm. So then again, we come back, have your core values.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And dare to question yourself. So I hope to become a pirate. Yeah, because it's nice to learn again and again and again. And I use, I have to use the great work of the great philosophers to get new perspectives, to see my own, the olifantenpaadjes, the paths of elephants. So we create our own value systems and belief systems. And one of the nicest books I've read was of my mentor, Marshall Goldsmith. What got you here won't get you there. So you have to change your core system, your core value beliefs to be successful or to be relevant again. Yeah,
changing it often.
Yeah.
I like
so maybe I will join you in your climber area.
Bring it on, come on, or maybe I come into your travelers.
Yeah, travel together.
I've been dreaming to travel. Semifinals. NL with England yesterday.
Yeah.
We cannot not talk about that. And then we talk about Felix Weyer, who you could say typical rebel, right? Although he's a very elitist, so he's a high class referee because he's been classified, I think, in 2004 as one of the top referees in the world, European football, sorry. And even so, his career is very controversial. There's lots of shadow. There's lots of controversy when he was involved with match fixing and taking money and bribes to give the wrong penalties. And then yesterday it feels like he fell into that pit hole again. But okay, this is a subjective perspective because I am pro-Dutch. Sorry, English people, viewers. How would you classify him in terms of a rebellion? Is he a rebel? What kind of a rebel is he? Can we look at him as a rebel?
Yeah. Perfect. And to put theory in the plate, if he would be a rebel, he would have taken his own decision. And now he was overruled by someone who was watching a monitor, and I think it was a 50-50 decision. But you have to take a decision. Take your own decision.
Beautiful. Now, Bas, this was a lovely conversation. I think people would love to know more. They would like to get deeper into these topics. Obviously, we're just touching the theories, and when it comes to the granular work, I do recommend your book, Rebellen moet je faciliteren. You have to facilitate rebels, and you have many of your books have been translated into English. But what I like is that you have very applicable exercises that you can do and work on yourself to have this level of introspection. So please go ahead, get those books. Also, you have those tests online.
Yep.
Is that okay if I promote them in the coming days?
Yeah. And it's not about tests or just sometimes you need a mirror or a little tool, a funny tool to have
a lover of tools.
Yeah, and just a moment of introspection.
Yeah.
And you can say, okay, I agree or disagree, but I've got a nice mirror that I used for a couple of moments, and please do.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for
You're welcome.
being a guest.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you for watching. Until next week.